Question. We have the director too, but I have a question. Did anybody else cry at any point? We are so graced, so blessed to have Evgeny Afineevksy with us, not just to be here tonight with him, but to be on the same planet. Do you want to say anything first?
Okay.
We have time for you to ask whatever questions you like.
I guess.
Evgeny, we have microphones up at the front so that you can come up and ask your question. Everyone will hear. Evgeny, do you want to say anything first?
No, I'm opening the floor to the questions, I guess.
So, any questions?
First, I'd like.
Oh, it's not open.
I'll share.
Oh.
Very good, thank you. First of all, I'd like to say it was an honor to watch a film like this. You took us not only to the heart of Francesco, but I felt I was in every event that you went to. It was emotional. It made me want to join the army of Francesco and what he's doing. It is a film that would last a sense of time. This is a magnificent piece of work, and I want to thank you for teaching me and everyone else here today. That was a profound piece of religious and artistic work. So, Evgeny, thank you very, very much.
Bernard, thank you so much for these warm, beautiful words. Bernard Hiller, amazing teacher and a good friend. He familiar with all my work. He been actually at the same Oscars ceremony when I was nominated with Winter on Fire, and he been around almost every movie that I did. So thank you for these words.
Thank you.
Hi, and I do feel very blessed to be here. Thank you, Father Dennis. Okay, now the brain just went blank. Okay, excellent.
Yeah,
Okay.
for you more close.
Okay. Okay. So I thought I saw part of this on public television. Did I?
No,
Oh, okay, all right. Okay, good. And so where do you plan on showing it?
it's on Discovery Plus right now.
Okay.
We are launching a series of the screenings around town and around the world. We developed a school program based on this movie. So from the next year, it will be already in the schools as a developed school curriculum. And right now, university in Belgium developing a study guide for the universities and colleges.
Oh,
so
excellent.
technically, we're taking his ideas, his values, his example as a role model, as a human being. Because for me, I'm looking at him as the greatest human being.
Oh.
And as somebody who can really teach us and give us hope.
But he's still very human, the way he's depicted.
He is,
Right.
he is.
Like, I mean, you could do, like you, as documentary filmmaker, in the kind of same formats for filmmakers.
I'm looking at him as a humanitarian and as somebody who is like you and me can sit, talk, and
Right.
go and help other people.
Right.
And that's how I see him. And I think that's what helped me to make this artistic work with him.
I have like two more questions more.
Yeah.
Okay, how do you get the funding? This is always, I'm a would-be film documentary, not would-be, we have a documentary, producer. How do you get the funds?
You know what? Almost all of my movies I started on my own money. And then I'm bringing investors. So,
Okay, got it.
yeah.
Okay, excellent. And you know who to knock on whose door, right?
I know how to knock the doors.
Yeah.
I will tell you, when I came to Vatican not allowed me to do any interview with him. Vatican said, you can start the movie, we know your work, you are a great filmmaker, you are famous, but we're not promising you interview with the Pope. You can start,
All right.
and then we will see. And I, as any filmmaker and as any journalist, I started my ways to get to him. And it took certain time, so I'm persistent.
Right.
Something that I really admire in me, in my life. Being persistent, believing in what I do.
Right.
And that's the result.
Well, my director is the journalist anyway, so I can see that. All right, and then on a more film content question, I noticed how it was in circles. It wasn't direct line, biopic. You know what I mean? There was like
There is no chronology. It's not chronological.
There is a structure. Definitely a structure from micro to macro and then back again. But there was a series of circles which I thought was so fascinating. And
I will tell you, in my work, that was the most challenging story, because you have human stories and you have not human stories. For filmmakers who are here, the most difficult thing in a documentary, if you taking story from human side into unhuman, like I will give you example, climate change. When I was editing, for me always was the most trickiest thing to go from climate change to kind of turn this corner and go from climate change into the human stories back. Because most of the movies are human stories. So that's the challenging thing. But what I used to do, to have a big desk on a wall and have almost every scene in a colored card, and that's what I used to kind of try to create the structure and see how it will work in terms of energy and connection. And that's how I created this structure.
The editing was seamless, and
We need to give somebody else a chance.
But just going from climate change, that just went to the micro very easily, because that is all our story. Thank you, Father Demer.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I need to move this back so that we don't get feedback. Doug?
I've been exposed to a lot of documentarians in the past, and I'm not in the film industry, but I'm a former veteran, in the war, been in the military a long time, been with American Legion Post, which they do a lot of documentaries for climate change, Afghanistan, things that are going on in the world today, human crisis. And I want to say from the bottom of my heart, I think everybody in this church, whether they admit it or not, shared a tear, either in their heart or actually through their eyes. And I have to admit, it touched me.
Thank you.
And the other thing that I find, and I'm sure is pretty challenging as a documentarian, is you didn't do it chronologically, but you did it by topic. And you did that interfacing between human crisis, climate change, intertwining. And I think that's what raised more of the interest and kept the attention of me onto that screen. Because if you just went from climate change to sexual abuse and, on, but you just intertwined that. And I think that's a real creative genius on your part.
Thank you.
And lastly, I do hope that you get as much exposure on this from Hollywood, from a lot of investors out there, because I think this is very worthy of a national or international award for the work that you're doing today.
Thank you.
So thank you. Thank you.
Evgeny. So many of those atrocities that we see globally and, being raised in the United States, I have to say, kind of ignorant to a lot of things that go on around the world. But a lot of them were due to politics and judicial issues around the world. And if I remember my history right, I think that the Pope was a priest or a cardinal or bishop or cardinal during the Peron era in Argentina, was it?
He was a provincial during the Dirty Wars, yes.
Okay.
He still not was cardinal, he was provincial.
Yeah. So
was priest.
You kind of touched on that a little bit, and I know it's not his role, as a moral, he's more of a spiritual leader, but where does he see his role in terms of interjecting to the injustices, the social injustices and the political injustices, and how does the Vatican see their role with that?
I will tell you something, even right now, in these days, we have a lot of interreligious conflicts, and that's why one of his main topics of his papacy is interfaith dialogue. Now, when he was in Israel, what you guys saw, he tried to create a meeting between Abbas and Peres in Jerusalem. Media from both sides blew this opportunity. It exploded. So immediately he took both of them. A few days later, they were in Vatican Gardens having these discussions. I do know that he is trying to interfere with his kind of politics. Again, his politics, he tried to be for the Rohingya refugees. I'm not surprised if something that we don't know, but he already doing behind the scenes for the Afghanistan. Knowing his personality, spending with him 3 years, I know that he is doing things behind and not in front of the cameras like a lot of politicians doing. He did many attempts to try to resolve situation in Syria. So he is trying to fight injustices. He is trying.
Yeah, well, he seems to have a history with it.
He's trying.
Just curious.
Yeah. No, he's trying, but you know what? It's interesting because Vatican is the machine, and I can openly say that it's a very complicated machine, and he's doing all possible in his hands to do something for the people. on the world. No matter color of the skin, no matter of religious beliefs, no matter of, again, sexual orientation. He is trying to bring the humanity back.
Yeah.
And that's what he does.
Tap dance. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hello.
Hi.
First of all, thank you so much for making a difference with your art. Thank you so much for wanting to change the world, sharing what you're doing.
Trying.
I want to share what is coming up for me by watching this documentary is even though you're portraying there's a lot of pain going on in the world, there's always hope. And that's the beauty of it. And it touches me especially, I'm from Chile. So you sharing the story of what happened with the abuse is making a difference in the world. Because I bet there's a lot of people that don't know what happened in my country. And because of that, and also seeing a Pope that he can make mistakes. Not even the Pope is perfect. And how humble he was by making that mistake. That's a beautiful thing. I wanted to ask you about the process around that, the abuse, which is such a deep and powerful thing happening right now. How was that process of investigation and connecting with the victims in my country?
I will tell you something that you don't know and you still not saw it in this movie. Did everybody love the music? I know that it's not the sound here a little bit different, but did everybody love the music? Yeah. There is another victim of sexual abuse from Chile that not in front of the camera, but behind the camera. In 2019, Pope Francis did basically a summit that you saw on the screen where he collected all bishops and were talking about sexual abuse and how important to fight it and we need to stop it. And I met another Chilean there, not just Juan Carlos. I met Emanuel Dramsky. And he was talking in front of the bishops and then he performed violin. He was a kid who was sold from Chile, from his parents, during the Pinochet regime to Germany, adopted by German family and given to the school, Catholic school, where he was abused. These days, he's a famous Chilean violin player. And I asked him, I said, would you like to express your pain and your healing in my movie? And he said, yes, but I'm not exactly like to talk. I know how to play violin. Entire score of this movie was recorded here in Hollywood. I brought him here. He recorded the entire score with his violin. That was the healing process of another Chilean victim of sexual abuse.
Oh, thank you.
But the journey was interesting because I started exactly this project in January 2018 when Francis went to Chile. And I literally saw the entire story kind of unfolding in front of my eyes. I saw Juan Carlos and all the other victims when they came to Vatican. I've been in Chile because I was filming in Chile. I flew, when I went second time to Argentina, I did stop in Chile. So I filmed a lot in Chile by myself, all the footage there. And it was interesting because I've been able to follow things. And it was an interesting journey because that's one of the key elements that was really important for me. Because unfortunately, the media not showing the progress, but showing only the negative side. And I think what Francis is trying to do, he trying not only to change the perspective and fight it, and he is standing really strong. He brought right now Juan Carlos to be a part of the commission in Vatican. I was just talking to Juan Carlos a few days ago. He is back because he was traveling. And he's really fighting this. And I witnessed this. Because never in the history of the church, you had a change, really, passing law from end of February 2019 until May 2019, what, 3 months? No, less, 2. He passed first law that any cover-up is the same, equal as a crime, as abuse. And he passed this law in literally 2 and something months. So he is truly fighting this. And that's what I'm admiring. And that's why for me, it was important to bring this, because I think, like you see in the movie, church lost, and in this battle, people lost trust in the church. And I think what was important to show that there is already in place mechanism and the fight against abuse, not only in Chile, in a lot of places. And France is still fighting. I know more and more things that happen in Vatican, and he's truly trying to push this thing to clean the church from all this really cancer, we can say.
Thank you so much.
Hi.
Yes, good evening. I'm still very emotional. But I want to thank you, of course, and I think you have alluded to your motivation and your inspiration. So I have two questions. When did you first have the idea to do this film? You've spoken of your admiration, your extreme admiration for Francis. When did you first have the idea to make this film? And what did you find was the greatest obstacle to realizing your dream? Thank you.
Being on the grounds of Maidan in 2013-14, and then being on the grounds of the war in Syria, specifically, I've been there in 2016. I think for me it was a progression and a journey into the darkest side of humanity. Maidan movie brought a lot of changes. It's inspired uprisings and revolutions. When we did screenings of Christ from Syria, the first question that audience was asking me usually, how we can help? What shall we do? So Syria was a journey into the darkest side of humanity. But I saw that I, as a filmmaker, can do really call for action. I call it AAA, Advocacy, Activism, and Action, not Alcoholics Anonymous. And for me, I saw this call for action in all my movies. So I decided to find something that can give hope, show light, show something that we need in these days. And specifically, I saw revolution, I saw war, I saw different negative things, but there is millions other. And I wanted to combine everything in one project, but in the same time, to show the hope. And that's how I was brought to the idea with Pope Francis. At the beginning, it was difficult for me even to understand why because he is the leader of the Catholic world. I am not Catholic, I'm a Jewish, who was born in former Soviet Union, who immigrated to Israel in 91, who moved from Israel to United States in 99. That's when I moved here. So I'm here already 22 years. And for me, it was really strange, but I was some kind of attracted to this thing. And that's how I came to the idea, okay, he can be the connecting thread to almost everything, but on a positive way, because he is the one who care about all these issues. He care about Syrian refugees, which was close to my heart after Syria. He care about climate change. He care about interfaith dialogue, which I witnessed on Maidan. He care about Jewish Holocaust. He care about Armenian genocide. He care almost about every issue that this world experiencing right now. And I realized that I guess that will be my next story, but not as the biographical story of the Pope, but as a story of us, sinners, and him, somebody who, on his mistakes, through his experience, able to share light, wisdom, and hope, give us hope. That's the most important thing. And unite us. Because the world, America divided, world divided. And I think for me, that was the motivation to do this project. Now, this project also changed me and helped me to go through a lot of things. And I think the obstacle was, biggest obstacle, it's Vatican itself. Vatican is not easy entity, and I can tell this, and even if media will quote me, I don't care. Vatican is nest of vipers. And unfortunately, Pope is there trying to bring light, and there is a lot of opposition. And I think that was the biggest obstacle, because as many friends and great supporters I have in Vatican, including Pope Francis, I have as many enemies there. So that's the biggest obstacle. Thank you.
Spasiba, Mazel Tov.
Hi. I was raised and educated in a Jesuit school, so I do have a lot of relationship with the Pope in that way. But one thing that I want to appreciate about your art is that I think you're collecting information of a big change that is happening in the Catholic Church. And we have the first Pope who has the initiative, the courage to even change the canon law. That's something really hard. And I wonder if he shared with you any frightened or anything internally inside the church that he was scared or to start a new initiative, like, incorporating gays into come back to the church, that, that are welcome in the church. That's something that is we're gonna start seeing the changes about it.
I think if he fears something, guys, no. I was with him next day after Valentine's Day this year. I've been through the pandemic traveling back and forth. And I was with him on 15th of February. On 14th, I was all day with Father Michael in a Franciscan monastery. And 15th, I was with Holy Father. I said to him, why you want to go to Iraq? It's a suicide. You know what he said? You have your mission, I have my mission. Evgeny, I can't betray these people. John Paul II, I think in 2000, canceled his mission. I promised it, no matter what. I will go to be with these people. That's him. And I'm telling you, that was between me and him. And that's how remarkable he is. He is for the people. When I was starting to do this project, when I was trying to convince him to go on a camera, he said to me, Evgeny, I'd rather be with the people somewhere in the ends of the world with people on a field than in front of the camera. And again, that's him. So he is a true priest, not even pope, priest. Because for him, in a lot of conversations, he's saying, Evgeny, first of all, I'm a padre, priest. Forget that I'm pope. I'm priest. I need to be for the people. No matter of color of the skin, religious beliefs, sexual orientation, because this question was raised multiple times between us since the civil unions became the issue of the world last year when the movie came out. So we discussed this, and he said, I am supposed to protect every human life. That's where I'm standing, and that's obligation of every priest. And that's Pope Francis. Now, about changes. I know that his surgery kind of pushed certain things from his way, but he's supposed to publish new constitution around feast. What is the feast that was in 29th of June? Was St. Peter, St. Paul's, yeah? Okay, he's supposed to publish the new constitution around this feast. But it's not happened because he had a surgery and he not published. He is finishing new constitution, which is supposed to be really groundbreaking constitution towards the Vatican itself and the church. The constitution that really outlines entire his papacy and changing a lot of things for the better of the church. He's doing a lot of initiatives inside. Like I think it's happened this year or last year or end of last year when he cut the salaries of the cardinals and decided, yeah, listen, they are getting 4,000, 5,000, 6,000 euro a month, living in a luxurious apartment that paid off, and the simple priests living in a couple of hundred euros. And he cut this to give it towards the priests and people who are really serving the cardinals and giving all the services in the Vatican. And I know that a lot of cardinals not very happy with that. So he's doing a lot of revolutionary things inside. And that's him. But I think Constitution will bring a lot of waves, different waves of positive and negative. Negative from the opposition, positive from the changes of the church. So it's to be continued.
Yeah, and I want to thank you as a filmmaker because I believe future generation will see your film and you will be one of the people who collect exactly the information when it happened. So thank you for that.
Thank you. And like I said, we're trying to put right now curriculum for the schools, that the schools can have access to the movie and being able to use it for different types of the lessons. We're preparing the same thing for the universities and colleges. So we're trying to take the values that he bringing in order to raise awareness already from the little ones into the growing generation for the every aspects that we are facing in this world. And through that, to change the mindset of the people. So that's what we do. Yeah. Father Dennis, what's happened with your mic?
Anyone else?
Yeah.
And if someone would like to be the next question after this, come on up to one of the microphones.
And while you're coming, I want to comment about refugees and migrants. I've been in June on our border because the movie actually inspired somebody who gave a lot of toys to the kids whom you've seen in the movie. When we premiered the movie in March on Discovery, toy maker who owns a big toy company here in Hollywood, in Beverly Hills, wrote me a letter and said, you know, I can't see the eyes of the kids who've been separated from their parents on the border. I want to donate toys to them, to every child. And in June, we went to bring over 10,000 toys back to the US-Mexican border in Texas just to give it to the kids. That's how movie bringing positive things.
Hello, good evening. Thank you so much for this art piece. My question is, what exactly inspired you to make this documentation, to produce it? What was the point that you said, okay, I have to make this documentation? And why is it so important that this documentary is going to be put on a curriculum in schools?
Like I already said, and I will again say it again and again, Syria was the most damaging point for me, personal. I came back from Syria, and I've been on the grounds of Syria. You saw my drone from Aleppo. So I was damaged emotionally, like every soldier that will come right now from Afghanistan or from Iraq. I was damaged. I was completely shaken to the core. I had post-traumatic syndrome. I had trauma. And I was looking on a personal level for light and love. But in the same time, I saw the power of the movies. And I wanted to find hope, light, humanity. I wanted to take everything that's surrounding us. And luckily, I've been able to travel and see things. We are living in a bubble. Specifically, with the pandemic, we live in a bubble. But usually, every country living in its own bubble. And I wanted to bring stories from all over the world to show which disasters we as humans, yes, it's true, it's a government, but in the same time, who makes governments, we voting and creating these monsters, allowing these monsters to lead us into the disasters. And sometimes we, people, who creating these disasters. Because in terms of climate change, it's not only governments, we're responsible for climate change. It's a decision of each person, his attitude towards the climate change. So I think for me it was important to bring everything what's surrounding us and to allow, to learn, to open our minds, to be shaken to the core. I wanted to create the cold shower. Each of you guys had this cold shower watching these atrocities through the world. And I think for me it was important. But at the same time, it was important to give hope and to create call for action. I will tell you another interesting thing, since there is a lot of questions about filmmaking. Through the entire movie, you see in Pope Francis not looking at the camera, talking like every other person to me. But only at the end of the movie, when he's specifically saying, today, yes, we have a dangers, but we're having an opportunities. He's looking at the audience directly into the camera. He is doing this call for action. So for me, that was the decision at the beginning. To tell the truth, during 3 years, the movie was going this direction. I never was thinking about pandemic in 2019. I was rushing to finish the movie. And I remember how I was pushing the Pope, let's finish this. And I have letters from him, Evgeny, wait, trust the process, trust the God. And I was like rushing and pushing him. And I remember how the pandemic came, and I was like, fuck, what's next? And I also remember how the director of Venice Film Festival, Alberto Barbero, in 2019 said to me, Evgeny, you have a cut of the movie, but it's not exactly the original idea. Wait and do exactly how you wanted to do it. And I remember head of the Vatican, Dr. Paolo Ruffini, said to me in, I think it was March, when we've been on lockdown here, we were on the phone and he said, Evgeny, take your time, wait. The resurrection of the Christ will come in the Easter and you will find the solution. And I'm like, guys, come on, don't tell me this. You know what? I was stupid enough. The resurrection came, Francis wrote me a letter, entire Vatican wrote me a letter, and all of a sudden I got a vision and we started to roll the cameras. You saw a lot of footage that we filmed in pandemic. Luckily, I've been traveling. I had people that working also in Rome and been working with me remotely. We literally finished the movie in the pandemic. And when I came to Pope on August 30, and I was showing him on my iPad pieces of the movie, his first sentence was, Evgeny, thank you for your patience. Thank you for trusting God. And I was like, thank you for your patience with me. That's how this movie came, and that's how it started. Why curriculum? I will tell you. I believe that raising younger generation properly will help to maintain this world. I believe that if we will raise from here and further all these growing generations with different mindset, with the right leadership, with the right idea of the humble leadership like we've seen in him, with the awareness about climate change, with the idea of interface, fraternity. Third, by the way, Fratelli Tutti is his third encyclical that was released last October 3rd. So with the idea of fraternity, with the idea of that we all equal, with the idea of women equal to the man. You saw how he endorsing women. And I will tell you, I met a lot of fascinating women who is pushed by Pope Francis on a higher positions in Vatican. Again, equality. He believes in equality. What you saw on the screen, I know many other stories. I know how he supports the gay community in reality. So if we will raise the younger generation on all levels through the curriculum and through the visual example, I think we can have better future and better world. That's why the curriculum is important.
Thank you.
Yeah.
This was a tremendous experience. First of all, I'd like to thank you for that. Now, if I may, I sort of would like to put you a little bit on the spot. Are you able to describe the Pope in one word?
He's my father, brother.
Both are wonderful. Thank you.
Hello again. I just first want to say thank you, of course, for your amazing work. When I watch this, I see one of the most Christ-like men in the world, and I feel like nowadays politics have come in and changed faith a lot. But watching him and his work and his word, even now, is inspiring me to want to be more Christ-like, to be more loving and faith-filled. And as a Jewish man, I wanted to ask you, has his talking with him and being with him, has it changed or strengthened your faith in any way, or what impact has meeting him had on you? More of a personal question. But.
You know what? He actually have a lot of respect to Judaism. His best friends are the rabbis Skorka, Danny Goldman. They are really best friends. And I think he have a lot of respect to every religion. He and I sharing a lot of common beliefs. And I think it's not about how I will call the name of the God. If it's Avraham Avinu or Jesus or Allah, it's about him. And I think if we will look at this perspective, and we all share one God, and that's how I and him looking at this. And the fact that he is promoting interfaith, fraternity, I think that's the most incredible thing. And that's why I, as a Jewish boy, who openly came out last year in front of the cameras as a gay, and him as the Catholic Pope, we have a lot in common, and we able to be connected on one simple level, to do good things for the humanity, to try to do something good and change this world. And I think that's our connection. That's what unites us. I am leaving literally on the 2nd of September back to Vatican, where on the 6th, I and Pope Francis host an event for refugees and migrants. And simple as that. I host an event and he coming to support me. I did similar event in 24th of May for the anniversary of Laudato Si. We brought homeless and poor people from Rome. He came to be with me to support it. So I think that's what unites us. And that's why, to the question who he is for me, he's like brother. Because we both trying to share humanity and spread humanity.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. My understanding of the arc in the story is what brings the story back when it goes off into several different directions as a documentary storyteller. Do you have an arc that you would share with us that inspired you and propelled the story?
You know what? I follow in my heart in a lot of places. And I also learned interesting way of storytelling from my previous movies. A lot of people are sophisticated and they are really knowing the subject matters that I'm putting here. And a lot of people not. So each of my movies, I learned to do like I'm doing a series for dummies. So that's the one thing. You educating your audience from ground zero. That's why in the movie, you're seeing a lot of times you're going back into his childhood in order to show that, yes, he not became Pope and he all of a sudden changed. He was Jorge, then Jorge Maria Bergoglio, and then he became Pope Francis, but it's still the same human being. Like, why, for example, I took everybody back into Argentina when he hugged Skorka and Abud next to the Wailing Wall in Jerusalem, because this was when I was doing all research, and I'm doing a lot of research on my project. They were criticized that Pope did kind of a stand hugging rabbi and imam. But it's not true. He was hugging them even before he became Pope, even before he came to Jerusalem. He was hugging them every Friday at the Argentina in Buenos Aires. And Amar specifically pointed to that. He said, you see this picture? And he showed me a few others. And that's why I had back and forth to show that his simplicity, his humbleness, it's not a show, it's him. And I will tell you something, when I'm spending time with him, it's him. I'm feeling, I guess, when first time we had a meeting, that's when I felt, okay, he's the Pope. But after 5 minutes, I had a friend next to me who was laughing with me, who was holding my hand, who was asking me questions, who was trying to guide me. So I think that's how I'm structuring my stories. And the most important, you educating your audience. That's the key thing.
And the second part is just simply the same question, but as the design of the film. If there is a particular lighting or tone or color or even something other than the obvious, which is the Vatican and all the Vatican-inspired design in the...
No, Vatican not design, Vatican not. I try to stay far from Vatican because for me it was important to keep him on the ground, because for me it was important to have you as an audience being with him on the grounds of all these places and not in luxurious Sixtine Chapel of Vatican, or Apostolic Palace or something. Because for me, it's not a story of Vatican or Catholic Church. It's a story of us and him. It's a story of the human being and somebody who is trying to help us to navigate through this mess that we are living. And in terms of how I'm navigating the storytelling and how the one story to another, I think I used, like I already said, in a lot of places, I have a huge desks usually in my editing rooms where I can, with the pins, put the stickers, cards, and I'm creating a paper cut first. And through the paper cut, we massaging the idea, what can go after what. And that helps us to see the dynamics. Because not every story, if I will take climate change in the middle of the movie, it will be really tough, like I already said. To turn the corner from the human story into the climate change is very tough, because it's not a human story. Climate change is completely different. So that's why you're trying to do it through the paper cut first, and then you go in and seeing how it works already on an editing machine. Avid, Premiere, or Final Cut, we did on all of them worked. Thank you so much. Yeah.
Hi, I just want to ask one quick question. I hope it's not too personal, but thank you for making such a valuable piece. I mean, piece that will probably change the history. So I have one question. When you first time saw the piece, when it was finished, and first time you sat like we were sitting now, and you saw it on a big screen, and what went through your mind? What did you feel in that moment?
I was lucky because last year, in October, I was premiering in Rome at the last festival of the 2020 in person, not virtual, in person. Last red carpet and last festival. First was, I guess, Sundance before the pandemic, but when the pandemic started, the first festival that came out was the Venice, and then you had Rome. A few festivals that happened to be, and I guess that's, I was in Rome. I was sitting, 2 seats from me was sitting Juan Carlos Cruz. We were holding the hand, and both were crying. That's how it was.
Okay.
Both of us were
Yeah.
crying.
I assume that, yeah. Thank you so much. This is priceless, thank you.
I just want to know if anybody else is thinking this, since we are in Hollywood, and I would imagine that the Pope is probably friends with a lot of celebrities who would advocate for the things that he advocates for. Was that like a conscious decision for you to avoid including celebrities in this film?
You know what? He's not friends of the celebrities. I can tell you that Leo visited him, Leonardo DiCaprio. I know Martin Scorsese visited him. I know that Arnold Schwarzenegger visited him. Who else? I'm trying to remember. I think Bono visited him. So there is. But I not felt that I want to bring celebrities into the mix. At the beginning, it was conversations to bring some of them as executive producers to help to bring awareness about the movie. But you know what? I think it's a movie about humanity. So it was, at the end of the day, it was my decision not to include celebrities into this mix. Because it's true. In Hollywood, if I want to promote my movie, I'm putting stick in the name, executive producer, this and this and this. And it helps for the studios. For the people, I don't think so. So it was really the decision not to use any celebrities, because you have the biggest star of the world, who is the human, and that's him. So,
Did we wear you out yet?
no, I'm still okay.
Any other questions, comments, hugs for Evgeny? Nobody wants to hug Evgeny?
You know, I will tell you something interesting. I'm standing and I'm thinking about something. On the first scene of Lampedusa, when he was standing and giving a speech, you know that his stand in Lampedusa was done from the wrecks of the ships that refugees tried to get and cross the, basically, the part of the sea. And if somebody will watch next time, you can see that it's the wrecks of the ship. Also the stand and also the altar next to that. It's the wrecks of the ships that refugees built. And he was standing and talking from that. That's in Lampedusa. It's interesting. I'm watching this every time and I can show every point. And every point is really something emotional. Yeah.
Thank you, Evgeny, over and over and over.
Thank you.
Thanks to all of you for coming. Now that you know the way to St. Ambrose, feel free to come and visit anytime, okay? Let's,
Thank you. Thank you for having us here.
I have to find out who he was talking about when he referred to a simple priest, but we'll take that up later. God bless you all. Thank you for coming.
Thank you, Father.
Thank you for your question. Thanks for being here. That was awesome. Thank you very much. Thank you. You're a Catholic employee. Thank you.